AlphaNerds.online. Inherit the Earth.
Welcome to AlphaNerds. I am your host, Nash Carey, and you're in for a ride. You really are. If you're downloading past episodes just to see how we got here, well, I hope you've been entertained so far. If you found us with a Google search of Star Trek Picard, well, the new episode is this month on CBS All Access. But you're also in for a ride because this pilot episode is something different. However it was that you found us, I hope you stay and you take a load off for at least 90 minutes. Now please understand, this show is 100% interactive. So if you're listening live, you can call in, text, email, or even use a chat feature to interact with this show. Yeah, if you're not listening live, this show airs live on Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Central. We hope that we catch you live eventually. What I'm trying to create here is an online Wednesday night church group. I know that sounds kind of weird, but for people who feel awkward in those social settings of an in-person church, or perhaps you just don't have this a particular style of faith in the area you live. You know, don't touch this style if you're just here for Picard, because I'm not going to be here preaching the entire time. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm going to present. I won't let it be like that. This is not one of those shows where you're going to have a soft little angelical voice closing our eyes. We're not going to sway and talk about the Holy Spirit, all that stuff. That shit makes me nervous. It feels like a big show to me most of the time. No, this show's going to be real, explicit, fun, pop culture, adult, inclusive, edgy. If you want to call the show to support the show, or even just chime in, the phone lines they fill up quickly. If you get a busy tone, just keep calling back. We'll do our best to take you and anyone else who wants to call in these first 90 minutes. I suspect we'll have some of my friends and family calling tonight to the show to show support for the cause. So to get in, here's the number, 405-534-4747. Again, that's 405-534-4747. Now, when you call, Annie's going to answer. She's going to put you in queue. There might be more than one of you. Hang in there. We'll do our best, okay? But for now, let's just keep it to two ways to interact so we can kind of work more in later. But we would really like to just make this communicative. If you are watching this show and you want to respond to something, but you didn't listen to this in real time, let's say even a year later, I want you to go ahead and email us. NashC, N-A-S-H-C, at AlphaNerds.online. Now, the reason we do that is we're going to be reading some of these back and forth throughout the year, and every Wednesday we're going to be kind of just bringing these opportunities up for discussion. So if you disagree with me and you want to be heard, well, this is your platform as much as it is mine. I encourage you to send me those emails and let's open up that discussion, okay? Now, last but not least, there's so many other ways of social media. Please like us or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. AlphaNerds is not too hard to find. The logo is pretty recognizable. Okay, to start the show off, let me give you some information about who I am. My name is Nash Carey. I'm a fully disabled PTSD Combat Veteran who is married to the love of my life. 7 years, my wife today, Annie Carey.
Aww.
Well, we live in Oklahoma City. She's going to Wimberley School of Religion at Oklahoma City University. That's where I just completed. We just got all this stuff set up in our house, so we don't have to pay these high studio costs to bring you this show each week, and expect it'll sound better and better each week as we work out some of these kinks. We have 2 kids. We locked them in a dungeon. They are 2nd and 4th grade. We are your basic everyday run-of-the-mill parents, but we have some other things as well. We'll get to more on that later. I'm going to be going to seminary in 3 weeks at Phillips Theological Seminary in Tulsa, and soon that's going to have some impact on the way this show goes in the future. Places like seminary are supposed to be formative for anybody, and I imagine that you will see some changes in this show as my education there progresses. But for now, it's going to be a silent part to this process. My wife and I are both members of United Church of Christ, and have been a very progressive take on Christianity. Now, this means we believe in discussion as opposed to one-sided or black and white thinking in our approach to things we discuss around Christianity. You know, we're not one of these stuffy, run-of-the-mill, Bible belt, dress wear down to the ankles, guys wearing pocket protectors and short sleeves shirts. That's just not us. What we are is a different kind of group, a different kind of Christianity, a different look.
And yes, we do swear a little.
Look, I'm not trying to be some kind of shock jock who's trying to shake you up, but yeah, I feel being an authentic self is it's better than being a perfect self. But that has to do a lot about my theology as well as it does the way I approach life in general. All right, let me tell a story. About 2 years back, how this whole thing came about. I was recently diagnosed with autism and PTSD as a combat veteran, and was not doing well. Just kind of learned how to isolate. I locked myself essentially into my room, and my life slowly became less and less, smaller and smaller. Just regular interactions became intolerable, and people became less tolerant of the way I was behaving. It left me alone, and while I was alone, wife, kids gone, and everything else, you get time to process some things. And I was watching Ozark, first season of that. I don't know if you guys saw it on Netflix, but I really was quite impressed with the way this Justin Bateman character handled himself. When crisis happened to this character in Ozark, this cold, stoic individual is able to just kind of just not panic and handle any situation. It was uncanny, amazing, essentially. It looks like it allows for, you know, that sort of admiration to the character. You ever find one of those characters that you're like, man, I would love to be like that person? Well, that character, that Jason Bateman, yes, thank you, Jason Bateman character was quite impactful. I wanted to learn how to handle all these stresses in my life without freaking out. And for an autistic PTSD person, that's pretty freaking hard to do. So I did. I tried to handle myself and handle myself coolly and stoically. But first thing I did was I got myself to college. And I began learning more and more things at college that opened up all kinds of different movements towards my ideological process. I became more and more committed towards a different idea that my life, the way I had it set up before, was just not going to work, and not the way that somebody's life has become a obsolete to them, but more like I became obsolete for the world. I know. Most people end up feeling that way along the way of some sort of major trauma, and that's exactly what I was processing, was a major trauma. It took me some time to find out my way in life was different, was something more spiritual, bigger than myself. It was great. It was a developing moment. And I had to go through my process. I was like, what type of person do I want to be? Do I just want to be like that character on Ozark? And I went through some of my prior mentors in pop culture, and sure enough, one guy came to mind. I know this is going to sound weird, but some of my formative time, I was really enchanted with this guy named Jean-Luc Picard. He's one of those types of characters on Star Trek that you might at first go like, well, he's a captain and he doesn't have any hair. How am I going to take this guy seriously? 2 years I literally sat and looked at this guy. He doesn't have any hair, and it was difficult to get used to the difference between Captain Kirk and Picard, right? Well, I learned along the way that Picard had a way of handling things that was quite enchanting. So before we head off into that and go into it in the full bore, I just want to let you know, mentors come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Sometimes they're a friend, sometimes they're a person at school, but sometimes they're just a character you read in a book or somebody you see in television.
That's so true, Nash. When I first heard that you said that Jean-Luc Picard was your idol, I must say, I wanted to make fun of you for it. I actually think I did make fun of you for it.
You did.
Okay. Well, but after watching the series, The Next Generation, and how he handled his crew, I could actually see what you saw from such an esteemed gentleman. I really loved the way he talked and the way he handled himself and the way he ordered his tea from a replicator. That was so cool.
Earl Grey hot.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything about the man showed a level of class and dignity and a level of fairness that I was like, wow, this is the person that I want to be like. Why? Because he's a man of stoic conviction, but also draws people in, and nobody challenges him once a decision has been made. Nobody, because what would be the point? All it's going to do is slow things down because that decision has been made at the behest of everybody. So we get these characters, and later on we're going to take calls and allow for other people to share what you guys have for those types of characters, and maybe you guys will share something that might shock somebody, but right now we're just going to take a look at this formative person, this Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise, was my role model in very formative times. Now, I believe the show is on from 87 to 94. Essentially, my high school years were the morality of the Federation. I know that sounds geeky, and that's completely nerdy, and I'm okay with that, because as an autistic child, not even knowing I was autistic, I saw inclusion. I saw a universe that was built more on collaboration instead of competitiveness, and I saw a utopian feature, a world that I wanted to be part of. And this man, this Jean-Luc Picard, was a leader and a pioneer moving forward, and with such great values and great ability to see all sides of conflict. So we're going to honor him today. I know that sounds kind